everybody? It's Dave here from Vikings First and Skull. And as you can see in the background, barely, I have a bear up here, a lion over here, of course, a chunk of cheese down here. That means we're talking NFC North. And this is the Fans First Sports Network's NFC Roundup show, Who Will Be King? Normally, I start off with some sort of epic poem or epic lead-in, but there's no need to do that today. You know why? Because we have football next on Who Will Be King. Let the battles begin. I'd like to welcome everybody that's watching as we gather here from the NFC North to talk some football. And we've had some football, and I'm going to introduce everybody. We have Foster and June from Bleachers to Speakers, our Lions representative, and we have Pay from the Bear Claw podcast. And Pay actually had a game. You want to tell us about it, Pay?
Yeah, Dave, I definitely will. So the Bears have been selected to play in the Hall of Fame game this season. So they broke the seal on the football calendar for everyone this calendar year.
They
They
popped the
played the
cherry
Houston
on
Texans. They did.
2024.
They did. They did. Salute.
Whoa.
So the Bears played the Houston Texans before the actual Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Later on that weekend, the Bears end up winning 21-17 before the game was called due to weather. Neither team played any of their starters, so not a whole lot to talk about unless you're like a Bear. You're really deep in the Bear business like me, or really deep in the Houston Texans, their ins and outs, like some Texans fans. So, but anything you want to know, certain things that stepped out to me. There's a running back. I wouldn't call it a battle. Let's call it a quasi battle. You know who the number one is, DeAndre Swift. Who will be the number two, and will the Bears carry more than 3 or 4 running backs in their running back room this season? We shall see. Last year's RB1, Khalil Herbert, he opened. Was a starter in the Hall of Fame game, which was a surprise because many people expected the Bears last year 4th-round draft pick, Roschon Johnson, who they drafted out of Texas, out of one of the most ballyhooed running backs from Texas in University of Texas history. We expected him to be the RB2. Well, according to the snaps, not so much. I'm sorry, I got that confused. Roschon Johnson was the RB2 in the game. Khalil Herbert, who was the RB1 to start last season, he was the RB in so many respects RB3. He got the majority of the snaps with the third string guys. He looked good. In fact, both running backs looked good. So nothing to take from that. Tyson Badgett, to most people understood who was going to be the quarterback too. He only played a series. The play calls were pretty safe. They didn't really do anything out in the ordinary. Just some handoffs and a couple of a play action pass. Nothing spectacular. The fireworks for the Bears came when the threes got in. Brett Rippon, you all know him, son of Mark Rippon. He is the quarterback 3 for the Bears. He's trying to make a roster spot. He had a couple of touchdown passes. Both of them went to Colin Johnson. Colin Johnson's in his 3rd season He's also trying to make the team for the Bears. He made 3 spectacular catches. I said 2 of them were in the end zone. At 6'6", I'm hoping he does make the team. That's just some of the things that happened on the field that were to take note of. The things that I was watching, well, who wasn't playing? Head coach Matt Eberflus said that most of the ones wouldn't play. None of the ones played, and some of the guys who I didn't think was going to, who I wouldn't designate as a one. Some of the guys didn't play either. I'm talking about Roma Duzier, our first round draft pick this year, who's on the depth chart. He's not technically a one, but I guess you can call him a one if you play primarily 3 wide, right? Velas Jones, one of the first draft picks in the Ryan Poles era. I don't think he's a lock to make the squad, but he didn't play. I mean, if the only way he makes the squad is if we carry 6 wide receivers, or if he wins the starting return man job. And if you're a Bears fan like me, him returning the ball is an adventure. That guy likes to put the ball on the ground. So I don't really foresee him making the squad. But again, if you read the tea leaves,
I just read this morning that Velas Jones, they want to try him out at running back.
That's what they did yesterday, Dave. Yeah, they brought him out and had him practicing with the running backs yesterday. I don't know how that helps anyone. Again, because we brought 5 running backs to camp already. I named the first 3. We have undrafted rookie Ian Wheeler and Travis Homer, who was on the squad last year as well. Travis Homer, I think he's a lock because he's a special team. He does everything. He's a special teamer extraordinaire. I think he's a lock. Ian Wheeler, again, he's a fast guy. He's got an opportunity on the special teams, but again, undrafted free agent. DeAndre Swift, Roshan Johnson, Khalil Herbert. Those guys are most likely locks. I think Khalil Herbert might get traded towards the end of camp for the most part. So I really don't see a pathway for Velas Jones making the team, even if you put him in the backfield. I can't call it.
Okay, interesting. What did you think of the Hall of Fame ceremony, since there was quite a few Bears in it?
Quite a few. Like I said, the Texans had one. We talked about that last week. Texas had a guy. The Bears put in 3 more guys in the Canton. The team with the most Hall of Fame inductees out of anybody in the NFL. Mongo's induction was touching. Devin Hester, everything was pretty standard. Julius Peppers, his is pretty standard as well. The only thing that caught my attention was when Hester got up there and said, hopefully his induction will open the door for guys like Joshua Cribbs. That's an absolutely no. That's an absolute no there, Devin Hester. I've had my reservations for Devin Hester even making a Hall of Fame, because specialists in the Hall of Fame, you're opening Pandora's box, and stuff like this is exactly what I didn't want to see. You don't need Joshua Cribbs is not a Hall of Famer, even though he used to be the all-time leader in kick return touchdowns. You're still only talking about 8 touchdowns. At the end of the day, that's 8 touchdowns. That's not Hall of Fame type of stuff. I'm sorry. Call me a hater if you want. I'm sorry, but the C in Cribbs does not stand for Canton.
Well, I do like that Hester said he's the best kick returner that's ever walked the planet, and that's close.
Hester is. If you want to say that because he's the greatest to ever do what he did, that he should be in the Hall of Fame, I would not argue with you.
Mm-hmm. Well, that brings us to stuff that's happened this week. And we've seen all across our feeds that there's been a joint practice between the Detroit Lions and the New York Giants. And it's gotten a little chippy. We have Foster and June from Bleachers to Speakers here to tell us, why did it get so chippy?
Well, first off, punks run up to get beat down. That's what happened. No, I'm just kidding. Let me stop. It's a bit chippy out there. It's a bit on both both teams. There's no one to really blame, but it happens. Happens a lot more than you think.
Well, it turns out it's costing both teams $200,000 each in fines.
They got it.
Yeah, clearly.
It's okay. It's football. I'm just happy they're back, and I'm hoping they keep that same energy all year. Not the chippiness, but ready to brawl it out on the gridiron.
Foster, what did
Yeah,
you think of the technique used by some of the players?
the technique, as far as the, I don't know.
I think it's absolutely stupid. You're throwing hands at somebody with a helmet on. That's
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's the instinct when you're trying to fight is to even if there is a protective item that will injure your hands, but I just hope they get it out of their system. I understand that when you spend all that time practicing against your own, that you're chomping at the bit to put your hands on somebody else. So I get it, and there's a lot of chirping and stuff like that, but get it out of your system. You don't want those type of things to cost you later on in the year. You don't want those stupid 15-yard penalties for retaliating when they instigated. Like you really got to get it out. You really got to get it out of your system. And when you listen to Dan Campbell, of course, Dan Campbell loves the grit and the fight, but he also sounded a little annoyed that it was like, it took a lot of time. It's very time consuming because everybody gets involved, and then you got to calm down 30, big grown men and try to get things back to, because it's essentially you're working hand in hand too. Like you're trying to prepare each other for the game. So as much as you guys are opposition, you're also working together to give each other that feel of a game before the game. So nothing wrong with. I mean, I think it should be an eye-opening experience for the Lions that yes, you guys do have a target on your back. You guys are going to be tested, and you want to have that camaraderie of he's got my back, but at the same time, you gotta put that behind you and not allow that to hurt yourself, because we will be playing meaningful games later on in the year.
exactly. All right. Well, let's move on to news notes. Pay, you talked about the Bears and Houston in the Hall of Fame game, but what's been happening in Chicago this week?
A couple of notes coming out of camp for Chicago, Lake Forest, rather. That's where they have their practice facility. Tevin Jenkins, one of our better offensive linemen, he returned from a couple of days off from injury. So that's good news. The best thing that I've heard all off season, all since we've been doing team activities. Matt Eberflus spoke to the media yesterday, and he said he does not believe in the phrase that you can't lose your job due to injury. Can't make the club from the tub. And that was music to my ears, because if you've listened to any of the episodes that we've done since we acquired a certain offensive guard from Tennessee, not going to say his name, Nate Davis. He has a problem with practicing, and it's always something. I know there was a thing. He had a family issue during last season, and that's you can't predict that you got to take care of home. I understand that, but the other things, it's always he's not doing anything with the team. He's doing isolated drills by himself. Not practicing today. It's getting old. It's getting real old. So when Matt Eberflus said that, that was a ringing endorsement that, hey, you could be gone. And they paid him majority of his contract already. If you want to cut him, sorry, all right, buddy. I mean, the experience is over. Thanks a lot. Thanks for what you did give. That just opens opens up the door for Ryan Bates to take over at the right guard position. We traded for him earlier in this offseason from Buffalo. And that will leave the door open for Shelton Coleman to take over at center, which a lot of our offensive line is a little makeshift, but we're fingers crossed that we can still pull off some magic as we did last year. The line was even worse in worse condition last year, but it didn't play that bad.
No, we'll see. I understand the offensive line woes, and I see that you're having them. You're not the only team in the division that is. Green Bay specifically is as well. But, hey, maybe so. I also saw that Kevin Warren said they hope to break ground on the new stadium in 2025.
Hope is a great thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not only what Kevin Warren has. It's also the name. It's also the title of a Star Wars movie. You know, we can just throw hope out there, right? Hope is pretty fun. 2025. That is what year is this? This is 20. Oh, that's next year, Dave. Not going to happen. There haven't been enough. There haven't been enough palms greased and pockets padded in Illinois yet for them to break ground anywhere, whether that's along the lakefront in Chicago or in Arlington Heights or any other surrounding municipalities of Chicago. I don't see 2025. 2025 is pie in the sky. If you, it's more of this posturing. You know, we've talked about it ad nauseum. It's a politic game. You want to put out there that we got 2025 circled in the calendar. It's a signal to everybody else, like, hey, we need to get on this, sign the paperwork, dot the I's, do whatever you got to do to get this done. But as of right now, it's a long shot.
Well, I heard Pritzker already said, no, we're not chipping in money.
Pritzker, who is the Illinois governor, he hasn't made any other statement since his first initial statement when Kevin Warren and the Bears released their renderings for what they would like their new stadium to be along the lakefront, just north of the museum campus where the Chicago Bears play now. Until you get the governor on board and some of those other local bigwigs that you need until you get them on your side, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a long process.
I think somebody in the organization needs to slip Pritzker a get out of jail free card, since that's what happens to all the Illinois governors after they finish their terms.
Whoa. That hasn't happened since Rob Blagojevich, and that's been that was the governor before Pritzker.
And the governor before Blagojevich, and yes, there's a few. But that is Illinois politics, and we don't generally get into politics except for when it affects football, and in this case it does when it talks about the stadium build. And we want Chicago to have a new stadium, and it should be an indoor stadium. It should not be an outdoor stadium, because you can make more money with an indoor stadium doing other things.
Roof.
Yeah. It's nice to have that roof to bring in the home and boat show or concerts or whatever it is, versus only be able to use it so many times a year and then an occasional concert. It just doesn't work that way. So that's why you're seeing more NFL stadiums going with the roof.
We would love to have Taylor Swift in Chicago. Just saying.
Well, she might want to be there right now. I guess she's having problems over in Europe. So I guess I read today they're looking for some terrorists. They caught 2 out of 5 that are trying to assassinate her. So,
wow.
In Austria, no less. Mm-hmm. They've got to be, Raiders fans or somebody that hates the Chiefs if they're going after them.
Wow.
Austria with the assassination attempts.
Yep.
Well, we don't want to get into politics. I mean, but we've seen that part. We've seen how that happens. We see how that story turns out.
Yep. But it's like I said, they're probably somebody that hates the Chiefs. That's all I can say. but we'll find out. Now on to Detroit. What's happened this week for you guys, Foster, besides the joint practices?
Well, we one of our players suffered a pretty bad injury. Emmanuel Mosley tore his ACL. No, he didn't tear his ACL. He
Come
tore his
on, man.
pectoral. Yeah, no, that was the last injury. But no,
Does that?
he was nursing a torn ACL last year when we signed him. He played in the second or third game of the year and tore his other ACL. And we ended up re-signing him at the end of the year. He was having a pretty good training camp. It seemed like Dan Campbell was kind of seemed like he was pulling for him just based off of the words that he was his sentiments before and after the injury. And he pretty much said that they don't know exactly how long it's going to take, but he presumes that he's going to try to fight through it and try to make a push for later on in the year. But just unfortunate. I'm sure he worked really, really hard to get back, to give it another shot this year. Obviously, secondary was one of our weaknesses last year, and we were really encouraged by the full retooling. And he didn't necessarily have a solid for certain position on the team going into the regular season this year. So it's just unfortunate that he won't get that opportunity to see things through and make it to a preseason game even. So we're definitely pulling for him, but it's a next man up mentality. We got a good rookie cornerback who seems to be prepped to seize the moment now that his his opportunity is right in front of him for certain.
And you're not talking about Arnold. You're talking about Ricochet, correct?
I'm talking about Ricochet, who said God's plan, which I think that was kind of a weird way to put it.
It was kind of weird.
It was like your replacement saying God's plan sounds like you kind of prayed on that, big dog. But I don't think that's not what he meant. That's not what he meant.
Hey.
Well, it's a shame because I was rooting for Mosley as well, that he came back and I saw him, he's ranked as your number 2 nickel corner. We were hoping it.
Right.
And a torn pec, depending on the severity of it, could take him out all season.
And we're familiar with that because CJ Gardner-Johnson had that injury in week 2 of the regular season, and he made it back for the end of the year. So 12 football weeks. So this is earlier in the season than Deuce's, but he's already. I don't know how 2 bad ACLs affects certainly it might affect your psyche. Obviously, your lower body may not have much to do with your pectoral muscle, but just another setback. So,
Speaking of Arnold, June, I heard he got a little bump on the head.
I don't know anything about that, Foster. You want to elaborate on it?
So he ended up matched up against a big old tackle for the Giants. I can't remember his name. But when he reported about it, he said that it wasn't so much a concussion thing. I think maybe that was based upon the appearance of it, because he took him head on, and he's got 100 pounds. The other guy's got 100 pounds on him. He said it was his quad, either his quad or his hamstring, that was really ailing him. And he said that he was about 60%, even when he was going up against Neighbors, when he, broke up that pass, and then the Kirby Joseph, situation. He said he was about 60% on that particular, the day as a whole, but that particular play as well. So it appeared to be a concussion, but he said it was more so his quad that was bothering him.
Gotcha. T-Bass is offering Andrew Booth Jr. to you guys in a trade.
Andrew Booth Jr., who's that?
We drafted.
Oh, is that a corner? That's a corner?
Yeah, it's a corner. We drafted him in 2022, and he has not panned out with our squad, unfortunately, so far, and he looks like he won't. And he said we'd take a kicking tee for him.
How was that? You guys need corners.
I was
going
going
to
to say
need
that.
corners, but
If you
he may
need
not make
corners,
it.
you want to get rid of that one. We don't want it.
He's got to be that bad, right?
We've got 10 right now in camp, and we had grand total of 12. One died, and one's out with a blown it ACL.
Right.
So, and he's not getting into that. Well, we keep 6, 5 or 6, and he's not bumping up into that 5 or 6 range.
Wow.
It's our 2022 draft, which was Kwesi Adolfo's initial draft, was horrible. Lewis Seen just got on the field yesterday for the first time. Our safety from that draft that doesn't get it. He's going to be lucky if we're going to be lucky if we can trade him. Most likely he'll be cut and we'll eat the dead money.
We also got a kicker that's booming kicks.
You do?
Yeah, Bates. They said he's consistently knocking 55 and 60 yarders through the uprights.
Well, it's good to have a master at that.
Yeah. So maybe some of those gambles at the we don't have to take so much.
Well, good.
Coach Gamble. Dan Gamble.
I can tell you our kicker as well, our drafted kicker who won the job, is missed only 2 since spring, and they were all on one day, those 2. And he's been banging them outside in the weather, straight through the uprights from mid-50s, and they look like they could go 75. They call him the assassin. Will Record is his name. He was the Alabama kicker. Crimson.
Oh, yeah. I remember that name, and I remember him now.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see. Yeah. T-Bass says the kid the Vikings picked up from Denver this year, he's going to end up being really good. Watch and see. I hope T-Bass. I hope. T-Bass is one of my viewers, regular viewers. T-Bass is as old as me and you, June, and been around, seen a lot of football, and he's a little grizzled in some of his opinions, which is good, but he's great to have here. Now, that's the Bears. That's Detroit. Well, there's a 4th team in this beloved conference. The team in the middle, the one we all love to hate, the Green Bay Packers. Or as we say, that team from Wisconsin.
Ooh.
Cheese suckers.
Mm-hmm. Now, it's going to be interesting to see if Jordan Love, their professional quarterback, plays on Saturday. I'm hearing he's going to. That's the news. They lost one of their guards to injury, their rookie guard that they were hoping for. He's got a bum shoulder, is what I read. Hey, too evil. Too evil to hope's one of mine as well. And just found out today that they're going to wear their new white uniforms. They're playing copycat. All white uniform. It's a white helmet with the green G and still the green and yellow stripes. They didn't go completely white, but it's white helmet, white jersey, white pants. In week 7, hosting yours truly, the Minnesota Vikings. And I hope we kick their ass up and down one side of that field and the other.
Drag them up and down the field, Dave. Give them they came out the locker room wearing all white. Send them back to the locker room covered in green grass
stains, little dirt, little blood, something. I
want to have those same sentiments, but I got to see what the records are in the standings before I can co-sign with that.
Well, that's week 7. We could be 1-6 by then. So you never know.
I mean, if that's the case, then drag them.
And we could be debuting JJ McCarthy at that time. We'll find out.
If you're 7-0 and leading the pack by 3 or 4 games, hey, then
leading the pack. That's a bar.
let them finish 4th in the division for sure. Delton, one of my viewers, wants to know what your view was on Love's contract. I think we talked about it last week a bit, but what was your view?
It was an amazing amount for such a small sample size of games. That's just the gist of it for me. I think he got an incredible contract without the proper size of games played, in my opinion. Good for him, though.
Yeah, it's great for him. This is what happens when you allow your former quarterback, your former diva, to run your football operation. you let him bully you into a relationship that you didn't want to be in anymore. You didn't stand up for yourself, and now you gotta overpay for your new boo. That's your fault. Toughen up.
It's kind of crazy pay. It's kind of crazy.
And what I
New
think
love.
is
New
they
love.
didn't pay him enough. They should
Yeah,
have
they could have got more.
He's a professional quarterback. He got every cent he deserved.
Can't put a price on love. Can't put a price on love.
Oh, that's another bar.
All right, for Minnesota Vikings news that I've been tracking all week. One, we got out our first, and I want to call it notional because it's not 100% accurate, but the teams this week, because all of them are playing, we're required to put out a depth chart. I think you put yours out last week because you had the Hall of Fame game, to put out a depth chart. And in that depth chart, they had Sam Darnold, number QB1. And then for QB2, they had both J.J. McCarthy, the future of the Minnesota Vikings, and Nick Mullins, which I find fascinating. But it's been, just so everybody knows, J.J. McCarthy has moved up, and he takes absolutely the majority of his reps with the second team if he's not taking reps with the first team. So, but that has happened this week. We talked about it earlier on Monday. Tyler got up and said, whoa, folks, on his show, McCarthy is not ready to start. And he and I had a little over that, but it's close. And I agree. JJ's not quite ready to start yet. He still has a little bit of growing and things need to speed up or slow down or whatever you want to call that. And his processing needs to speed up. The game needs to slow down. And then he will be. But both he and Sam Darnold have had some knocked out like 4 or 5 days in a row in practice, which is outstanding play. And we're both excited over that. So it's going to be interesting to see who plays on Saturday, and we'll get into that shortly. Other news for the Vikings is that one of the owners, Mark Wilf, came out and said Kevin O'Connell, head coach, and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, GM, are not getting a contract extension this year. They're 2 years into their 4-year contract, and they're going to wait till next year, sort of like Chicago. We'll find out how that goes. And it is. And then we got an update on Speedy Gonzalez. Jordan Addison, wide receiver. He's fast.
Rise fast, too.
Uh-huh. And one, he's having a fantastic camp. He has grown. He's actually put on weight, muscle, but he's flying across the field. He's making defenders look absolutely terrible. He and Justin Jefferson both. You guys are going to be amazed at how well those guys look. And but he had his court date set by I think it's Los Angeles County. And it is the day after we play in London. Against the Jets. Now, It's going to be interesting to see if they try to move that date or if he's got to get instantly play the game, instantly hop on an airplane and go straight to Los Angeles, be exhausted, and from there go to court. Or if he doesn't go to London, we play the Jets in London that week. And so it's going to be interesting. They're charging him with 2 misdemeanors. His BAC was over the limit. He was drunk. It wasn't, marijuana or any sort of other drugs that we thought it might be. It was alcohol. And we'll see what happens. He could spend up to 6 months in jail, plus a whole bunch of fines. Who knows? We don't know yet. We probably won't know unless they plea out early. Have no idea, but we're all sitting there going, when is all this going to happen? And how is the NFL going to deal with it? Because a DUI is an automatic three-week suspension. And we don't want to lose them for 3 weeks. Now, if we have to for 3 weeks, we'd rather do it this year than next. Because next is when we think we make our Super Bowl window opens. But we'll see. It is what it is. Make
3 games. Yeah.
Poor decisions. Oh, not only does he miss 3 games, because this is his second violation that we know of, his guaranteed money gets unguaranteed in his contract. He could lose up to
broke a clause or something.
Yep. And he could lose up to $5.6 million. Now, he could earn it, but it's no longer guaranteed.
Wow.
So,
what round was he drafted in?
He was a second-round draft choice. No, first-round draft choice.
He was a first round. Oh, no. Okay, that makes sense.
I think we took him in the first or second, one of the two. And, but as Dr. Proto says, best way to avoid is to quit doing dumb shit. Agree, Pay?
Live fast, end fast. That's what that's how the saying goes, right? You better cut it out, son. You can't get money back.
Yep, it's silly. Now, in other news, former Detroit Lion and now Minnesota Vikings tight end TJ Hawkinson is supposedly ahead of schedule. I think every player that gets injured like that is ahead of schedule until he's not, but he's supposedly ahead of schedule. He is running, which is good. We see him doing that. He's moving to the next stage, which is cutting, and we'll see how much ahead of schedule. We expect him to start on the PUP at the beginning of the season. He's technically on the PUP right now. So, but he is out on the field running. He's not partaking in installs and all the rest. Thank you to Evil to Hope. Addison was a first rounder.
Okay.
And Justin Jefferson, we had news. He's being cautious with his hamstring. He does not want to injure it again, and he's being cautious. He took a day off last week, which is fine. I'll give veterans a day off every once in a while. But he says he's being cautious because he does not ever want that to happen again. He does not want to miss football games, which is, of course, a terror for everybody that plays against him because they'd rather him miss football games. But we'll find out. Thank you, Peter. 23rd overall. But we'll see. Yes, T-Bass, he is the one that said to the coach, I think it was to, not the coach, but I think it was to Kwesi, that when he got on the phone, he goes, let's get paid. That's most players when they get drafted are like, I'll be there, coach. Can't wait to start. Something like that. But not, let's get paid. But T-Bass is right. That's what he said. So
the pattern is developing over there for Mr. Addison, is it not?
It is. Oh, it is. It is. What have I got here? No idea. Pull it off. Okay. All right. One last thing. We also talk about what happens around the rest of the league on occasion, and there has been something that's been happening this week. And it includes a lot of drama. and it's San Francisco and Brandon Ayuk being traded. And about the only thing we couldn't narrow down until supposedly this afternoon, right before we came on, is that he could possibly go to all 32 teams in the league. There was rumors. Well, hey, San Francisco could, keep him there. That was the whole idea. But there was rumors he'd go to New England, rumors he'd go to the Browns. Rumors started with the Steelers, and then that was thrown out. And then I read just before we went online that it is breaking that he looks like he's going to the Steelers. What do you think of that drama, Pay? Since you get online with the Steel Curtain Network on a few times, at least once a week.
I don't know how their GM Omar Khan keeps pulling off robberies. Is someone want to investigate this? He keeps getting away with. He keeps getting better and better. He won't draft the players that he needs. He'll just take them from you for pennies on the dollar. I don't get it. I hope the San Francisco 49ers are not partnering with Brandon Ayuk. I don't think as highly of him as a lot of other people. Some people tell you he's a top 10, top 5 receiver in the league. I kind of disagree on that front. But as far as the San Francisco 49ers, the reason why they cannot let him go for anything is because the prime for all their better players, I'm talking about some of the names off the top of my head. There's what's Debo Samuel, what's their tackle's name? Trent Williams. Yeah, a lot of those other guys who are making a lot of money, their primes are in the past. Brandon Ayuk is coming into his prime. You can't let him go. You got to do whatever you need to. And usually when teams say, "Yeah, you know what? Go find you a trade that you like and bring it back to us," they're usually just posturing. They're not going to let you. They're going to ask for too much, and then the trade will be gone, right? But as you said, Dave, it's gotten to a point where I think San Francisco is just tired of it. They want to know who's in camp and let's get this going on. Yeah, but if they let Brandon Ayuk go, he's supposed to be the next guy for their offense. Like, again, another name, Christian McCaffrey. His best days are behind him. George Kittle. You can't let Brandon Ayuk go for anything.
I agree, but and I've heard he's demanding upwards of $30 million, and some of the trade stipulations have gotten too rich for the Patriots. Sarah says Patriots took him out or dropped out because he was asking too much. Browns, I have no idea what caused them not to, but it was reported right before the show because I have the tweet. Rob Reinert, who reports for SI and a couple other places, he's a legit sports reporter, says Pittsburgh Steelers are finalizing a trade deal with the 49ers for wide receiver Brandon Ayuk. The deal is worth upwards of $26.2 million per year for 4 years for Ayuk, which is, in my opinion, is lower than I thought he was going to get. And the final trade pieces are being put together, but Ayuk to the Steel City is confirmed.
Wow. At least it's the AFC.
Yeah.
I never thought 30 million was his market. I thought that was a little bit over. I think those are 30 millions for elite guys. Again, this is me saying I don't have Brandon Ayuk as high as some other people. We can agree to disagree on that front. But if the Steelers again get him, I cannot wait to see this trade package. If they have to pay a pretty penny to get him, and they got him to sign a $26 million AAV contract, what's going on? What's going on? It's like this Pittsburgh Steelers are the new Patriots. They just get whatever for less than market value.
It is. They got their quarterback for it. You'll get back a fourth rounder, and he's been looking good.
Yeah, let's get that fourth out of them. They should be giving up a third, but
we'll see him play. I think they play Saturday or Friday.
Yeah, they had a scrimmage, Friday Night Lights, annual scrimmage between ones and twos in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, but I think they have their first preseason game is this.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's this Friday. It may be Thursday. I think it's this Friday. They're not a Saturday game. Speaking of the preseason and the games, preseason week 1, not week 0, but preseason week 1, we have games ahead, all 4 teams. And since we don't really care about the Green Bay Packers, they're down at the Cleveland Browns. They'll be on Saturday at 3:25 p.m. Just for those that care about the Green Bay Packers, that's when their game is. We'll find out, hopefully, that the Browns will make some hay of them. I'm seeing where LaFleur said Love will probably be playing in that game. And that's the big topic of these first games is who's playing quarterback. The first game in the division, however, is Thursday night, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. Since it's in the Eastern time zone, it is the Detroit Lions at the New York Giants. And from what I've seen, Daniel Jones has been just ripping it up against the Lions this week in joint practice. He most likely will not play, and that Jared Goff will not play either. Is that correct, gentlemen?
That is correct.
Who else has been ruled out? Is it all the ones or just Goff?
I don't know if Dan Campbell specified as far as to everybody, but Goff for certain. Probably Brown. I can't see Brown playing. Sewell probably won't play. Just my guess.
Divas.
I know when we have a joint practice, and ours is the following week. We go down to Cleveland, and we'll have one there. That our ones don't play in the game afterwards, because that's what we use the joint practices for, is the ones on ones at a higher level, but it's still controlled, unlike in a game type situation. So, but we'll see. It's going to be interesting for the Vikings. And then come on Saturday, there's 2 games. There's one at noon, Chicago Bears at the Buffalo Bills. Are you making the trip out to Buffalo, Pay?
Absolutely not. I have a lot other better things to do with my time than go to upstate New York. But we will be watching the game. Thursday should be the announcement of who's going to play. As I said earlier in the episode, none of the ones and some of the fringe guys didn't play in the last game. So I'm kind of got my fingers crossed that we do get to see some of those names that you've heard of. Fill in the blank, Caleb Williams. Break the seal on their pro career. But we'll find out.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Break the seal or break a leg, whichever.
No. None of that. None of that.
It's a good
Figure of
look.
speech.
Yeah, I know it's a popular phraseology in show business, but the Bears are not only here to entertain, they're here to win. So if recent history
break a leg or anything.
Who?
It's not like we're telling Joe Theismann to break a leg or anything.
Oh wow!
That
would have, yeah, too soon. Too soon.
I can't win.
If recent history is worth anything, Matt Eberflus, he didn't play any of his ones in the first game of preseason last year as well, and this is when they only had 3 preseason games. So if he continues that trend, I don't think we'll see Caleb or any of the ones until game 3 and 4.
Interesting.
I don't see the big deal though. Like, it's preseason, man.
Exactly.
I don't want to see. I mean, unless they really need the work, they don't need to be out there.
You gotta get a lather, Joe. You gotta work up. You gotta work up, especially because if you got rookies,
doesn't have to do that. I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, for vets, maybe not, but if you got young players, you got a new offensive coordinator.
Gibbs didn't have to.
Maybe.
Well, Vikings play on Saturday. We host the Las Vegas Raiders, and it's going to be interesting to see. The Raiders have already said they're playing O'Connell and Minshew one full quarter apiece. It's going to be interesting to see how Kevin O'Connell uses our quarterbacks, whether it be Sam Darnold, J.J. McCarthy, Nick Mullins, and Jaron Hall are basically at number 3 and 4. Who gets playing time? Will Sam Darnold, since he's sitting at the QB1 spot right now, get playing time? I suggest that they may and probably should, because one, we haven't seen him play under fire. We see him in practice, but Sam Darnold's always been good in practice. It's when people are flying at him trying to hit him that Sam Darnold has tended to have his issues. And of course, we want to see J.J. McCarthy at full speed. Now, J.J. McCarthy said in an interview today, this is what's interesting. They had press conferences. You guys have press conferences all the time, right? They get the head coach on one day, and then the next day it's the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator and special teams coordinator. And they throw in a few players on top of that, usually star players that get to talk to the press, veteran players. Well, that happens in Minnesota every week. Head coach, next day it's offensive, defense, and special teams coordinators, and then star players. Well, today, instead of Sam Darnold, we got J.J. McCarthy at the podium. And it's not the first time JJ's been at the podium. JJ's great at the quarterback thing, and he can get up there and he can speak and say nice things and do normal quarterback stuff. And he's not bad. He's not a bad public speaker, which is cool. But the fun thing that I liked, he had a particular quote, and they were asking, what does he look forward to playing this weekend? And it was that he gets to go against a vanilla defense for once. Because in camp, Brian Flores does not scheme vanilla. Brian Flores wants his defense to go out there and do everything possible to win every single rep. Period. Their starters, the backups, third team, everybody. And so I'm curious to see how much playing time Sam Darnold gets, how much playing time J.J. McCarthy gets, and then it'll be the only ones that have had experience with Kevin O'Connell calling plays in their helmets are Nick Mullins and Jaron Hall at the back end of the roster. But Sam Darnold and J.J. McCarthy need to hear in game when bullets are flying, the calls coming in, and be able to relay them. And the only way you can do that is in the preseason game. You do not want to wait till week 1 and have that be the first time they hear that. So it's going to be interesting to see. Now, last week, Pay, you asked for predictions. This is a preseason game. I don't care about predictions on a preseason game. Everything changes because you got to
throw out some numbers, Dave.
1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s out there.
You got to throw out some numbers. Got to. That's what we do.
All right, let's start. Detroit at New York.
I refuse. No.
We know Detroit's ones aren't playing. See, that's why this is silly.
It's really, really like, no, I'm not. I'm not throwing out a score.
28.
But you're not even looking for that. Like I'm more curious to see what Hendon Hooker does. He's a guy that was drafted a couple years ago. He was injured when he got here. So I'm more interested than to see how he plays. And he probably won't play with anybody in the first unit. So, but a score, I can't do that.
So that's 2 touchdowns for Hooker or 3? What
I know he wants to put up some points regardless of how he looks. I know he's trying to score some points.
3.
All right.
3 touchdowns.
Wow.
So you want Hooker to look that good. Gotcha.
Nice. There you go.
21-7 Lions.
Yo.
You can live with that, Foster?
I was gonna say 28-13 Lions.
Okay. Interesting. Pay, you guys are up next. What are you going to do with them Bills? Them Bills, it seemed that their Super Bowl window is closing, if not closed already.
It's
Oh, it's close. It's close. They can't beat the boogeyman, so their window was never really open. Considering, I'm going to give you my prediction based on the ones playing 2 series. I've got the Bears winning 17-16.
Mm.
All right. We played the Raiders, and Sarah said that a bunch of the Raider fans are all butthurt over the fact that J.J. McCarthy is getting to play a vanilla defense. I think that's wonderful, Sarah. I think we've got our guy, even if he doesn't start immediately. But we'll find out. Sean saying Anthony McDaniel, let's see. All right, he's telling Anthony that Goff is the best in the league. Love is 3, Williams is 2, or Williams is 3, Donald JJ 4. We'll find out.
Hey, when is your game? When is that
Saturday.
Thursday?
Our game,
And yours is when, Dave?
Yours is Thursday.
Okay.
Pays and mine is Saturday. Pays at 1 o'clock Eastern, and mine's at 4 o'clock Eastern. Live
Great.
on NFL Network.
Definitely
We are
be
the
tuning
national broadcast on NFL Network.
Definitely be tuning into all those games.
Mm-hmm.
I love a good national broadcast, Dave.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's going to be fun. Going to be fun. Well, any last words, gentlemen?
Don't miss Hard Knocks. Episode 1 is up on the Max. They're not paying me to promote. I'm just going to let you know again. It's a good show. Check it out.
Do we get to see the dysfunction in Chicago?
Dysfunction? That was last year's season. This season's all about progress. Let me tell you something, Dave. Football doesn't start until you see those water sprinklers in the opening episode of Hard Knocks. That's when you know the football season is upon you. And this episode, we had not just one GOAT, you had two for the price of one. You got Nick Saban in his Crimson Tide blazer giving out head coaching pointers to his former linebacker, Matt Eberflus. And then you had the second GOAT, Simone Biles. She was out there just being flawless in the episode. She was only in the episode maybe 5 minutes, but she was everything she did was flawless. From
Speaking
her wedding
of Simone,
gown.
Is her husband back yet?
He is back. He had a little he worked from home while he was in Paris. He had his iPad with him. He was getting his he had his playbook, figuring out the game install while he was supporting his GOAT wife.
His wife. Mm-hmm.
But now he's back. He's ready. He's trying to make the squad. Let's go. Bear down.
Gotcha. Last words from Foster.
No.
Nothing in Lions land. I got you. Same for
Keep
you.
Keep my eye on the hooker.
Oh, wow. There's 26 people watching. I need you to go to Preachers and Speakers on YouTube, subscribe, share, like something, do something. Help us with the trying to get our subscribers up to 200 by the end of the month.
Because
So,
we rotate this show
Correct.
between the hosts, and you want to catch it every week. So make sure that you've got notifications on from Bleachers to Speakers so you can catch it when we're over there. And I'm not doing all the one pontificating all the most. Speaking of pontificating, Pay, where can they find yours so they can subscribe there as well?
Shout out to Dalton Vincent. A lot of those questions you asked in the chat, you're getting to them. Like Dave said, don't miss an episode every week, every Wednesdays, sometimes Thursday. But you can find the next episode on Bleachers to Speakers. But the week after that, come on over to Frustrated Chicago Sports Fan channel on YouTube. We'll be live doing the same show. We've got our Bulls shows coming up on that same channel, our Bear show, the Bear Claw, that we're doing right now, and a White Sox show. It's a good time. Don't miss it.
Mm-hmm. And we can catch all of our podcasts on the Fans First Sports Network on all the aggregators out there. Every last one of them. So, what do we say, gentlemen? Pay? What do they say in Chicago besides
Bear
pizza?
down. We say bear down, and Chicago's the home of the best pizza you've ever eaten.
Facts.
What do they say in Detroit? And of course, in Vikings land, we say Skol Vikings. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and rate us on your favorite podcast aggregator. Thank you for listening to this NFC North group effort on the Fans First Sports Network. This has been a Bear Claw podcast. Bleachers to speakers. Vikings First and Skol. And of course, the Fans First Sports Network production. Thank you for listening.